Okay. Hey guys. Hi. A little bit tardy to the party today because it was dicey for a minute there. I'll tell you. Greg wasn't showing up on screen. It looked weird. Anyway, so we're here. I am not seeing the Facebook page, but I'm gonna go in there, make sure we're live. Greg, can you see us live?
Yep, I see it.
Oh, you know what? I can't hear you very well, Greg.
Uh-oh.
I might have to wear my headphones.
Oh, you can't
Oh,
hear.
hold on. I got this. I got this.
I'm sure the group can hear me just fine.
Right? Can you see us, my friend?
I can see us.
I mean, can you see us in the group?
Yes, I can see us in the group.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna get there in a minute. But Greg, you know who I am. I'm Pip. I run a small digital agency on Vancouver Island, and we help people with search and social marketing. What do you do?
I run a full-service website graphic design and digital marketing agency in Vancouver.
Right? We practice that. We practice. If you're joining us, pop in, say who you are, where you're joining from until I get to the page so I can see you all. I'm looking at audio is good. Audio is good. I think that's failing. Greg, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about image optimization.
Ah, yay. Okay, we got a couple people here, more people than usual.
I
Okay.
feel like I just heard Phelan.
Oh, that's weird. Hopefully not now. Well, I had it on mute. You know, it really still bugs me that I can't invite people here.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we could hear everybody?
That would be kind of cool. One of these days, on a month's end, we'll
Maybe not see everybody, but hear everybody.
oh, that's interesting.
That'd be neat.
I
Yeah.
like that idea. So, Greg, why are we talking about image optimization?
Why not? Because images are all over the internet and they are a big factor in load times of your website, and they're a huge factor in local SEO, as you'll probably mention a couple times throughout the talk today. And so, yeah, I mean, people gravitate to images more than they gravitate to text. So, why not talk about images and how important they are and what you should be doing to make sure they're optimized for your website?
Right, right. I'm still affected by the fact that we didn't get the countdown timer. I tell you, that's yeah.
Move
Okay,
on.
moving on. Okay,
on.
so the things we are going over, and I did write a really awesome list. Of course, I can't see it now. We're going over naming conventions, image types, sizing, weight, plugins, and we have a couple questions today from people in the group. Did you see those?
I didn't notice. No.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to go over to those. Dave asked a question and Rena asked a question. So,
Okay.
okay, first let's talk about the different types of images. There's
Right.
PNG, JPEG, there's other ones, there's GIFs or GIFs. So what's the deal? Why don't I put a GIF on my site?
Why don't you?
Well, because they're heavy, no?
A GIF or GIF, depending on who is
Talking about.
saying pronouncing it. I say GIF
Oh,
more than I say GIF, I think, but I do go back and forth. Anyways, so yeah, PNG and GIF or GIF are very similar. You'll have different file sizes, obviously. A Can I not hear you now?
no, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I saw
Hey, before you.
I thought I saw your lips move and nothing came out, and I was like,
Oh, no, and you're hearing things today, seeing and hearing things, Greg. Mona's here and Joe is here. Hey, guys. Okay, keep
so
going.
yeah, a PNG and basically a GIF or a GIF only uses 256 colors. So you're losing the full spectrum of the images that you can get in a PNG file or a JPEG file or an SVG file. A PNG is not limiting. but creates more manageable file sizes and is best for things like icons, logos, and anything with like a solid color.
Mm.
They would be best to use a PNG for.
And if like so on the web though, they're super heavy, right? PNGs.
What do you mean super heavy?
They're like their weight, so they're generally double the size of a JPEG, weight wise.
Yes, for the fact that you're only using 256 colors in the JPEG.
Mm. So usually what I recommend is if you need a transparent background, you use a PNG,
Yes.
right? And like I usually like for web stuff, I'm all JPEG all the time, unless it's like social media, and then I don't care.
Well, JPEG is probably the most common thing you're going to use because typically a JPEG file is going to be best for like any actual photos of things, like something from a camera, scenes, product photography, all that stuff.
Mm.
Always best to use the JPEG format. And then, yeah, and then SVG is the other that I wanted to mention. SVG is for scalable vector format, and that by far has the least weight of all and has the best results of how it would look.
Interesting. So is that what you use?
Not no, not all the time. Again, you wouldn't use an SVG for like a camera image or something like that.
Okay.
You would use it in place of a GIF or a PNG.
Okay.
Um,
No, I know some about images, but what I know is more based on certain optimizations. So you know more from the standpoint of a designer, from a yeah, a website builder and stuff like that. So which and I see some developers not knowing to make a file light, right? Like they like I love the guys that built our site. They did such a good job. Some of the files are a lot heavier than I would want. Now, getting into that, okay, one of the things that we both see and have trouble explaining to people is about the weight of an image. So, not the diameter, right, or not the width, but Mona's saying, "Gang, hi, gang." I love that. It just makes me. So, with that, so there's you want to pay attention to pixel size, right? Like when I have a camera photo, it can be 2,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels, which is pretty big, right? If I download an image from Unsplash to super big, you don't just want to put those right up on your site, right?
right.
So, and you resize when so you're gonna resize them down, like height and length,
Yes.
and then you're gonna size them related to weight, which is like explain weight of a.
So there's file dimensions and then there's compression. So the dimensions are how big width and height wise the image is, and and then the file size or the weight, how heavy or how light it is the physical size of the file that has to load on your website. So there's a couple of, I mean, background images, hero images, large images that you want full screen, things like that. I typically export at a dimension of 1600 pixels wide.
Mm-hmm.
And to optimize that image for weight, I would compress it down to 72 dpi
Mm-hmm.
and export it as a JPEG with about 60% quality.
Okay, okay. And what happens? Okay, two questions in there. Explain what DPI is to people.
The it's basically the pixels per inch, like the density of the quality of pixels in the image.
Mm, okay.
So for print stuff that you're typically sending off to get brochures done and things like that, you're going to want to use a quality of 300 dpi. So the image, when printed, looks like really good. But on the web, your screen only shows you 72 dpi. So there's no point in putting an image that has any higher of a pixel density, because you'll just be wasting files weight
Right.
because it'll be heavier, because it's a higher quality
Now it's
that isn't needed.
mm. Now it's interesting because you go 60%, you said. So I do something a little different. I make my images for websites less than 100 kilobytes, or 120 is my min I go.
Right.
So, but so that can be a lot lower than 60%, right?
Yeah, so what I would say about that is, by saying I'm gonna make sure every image I put is less than 100 kilobytes, you don't know really what the quality of that image is that you're putting out. So that's why, like, I don't. We have pretty quick internet speeds for the most part, and mobile is getting faster. We're coming up with 5G, which will be lightning fast compared to 4G, when it's widely available.
Well,
But
that just means like so if we think about the future for a second, like let's step into the future.
mhm,
What we probably in the future will not have to worry about this stuff as much, right?
maybe not as much, but it would still be best to only put on your website what is needed. We shouldn't get in the habit of just taking images right off our camera and posting them online, because those are massive. You should you should always optimize your image, for your website based on, the best results you could get, visually, but the smallest weight possible, just to keep your site loading quick. And yeah, I wouldn't suggest not optimizing images just because we're going to be getting faster internet speeds.
Right? Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, we're stepping back out of the future. Now, Mona's saying thank you so much for DPI explained. Yes, I think that's really going to help some people because there's acronyms and things that are hard to understand when it comes to image optimization, right? Like you can submit an image sitemap to Google. We will talk more on that another time. Mark's joined us. Hi, Mark. So, Greg, we were going to hop into other things. If you guys have questions about like kilobytes or pixels or anything like that, pop them in the comments. Greg and I are going to jump into talking about because we were like when we got on this call, we were like, what can we talk about with this? And then we
I I started we started talking about like the dimensions and the file sizes, but I wanted to, get back onto the dimensions because I started with like full screen images, which I suggested would be 1600 pixels wide.
mhm,
But you don't want every image you put on your site to be 1600 pixels wide. Think of what you're using that image for. Is it a product image? Is it just going to be a thumbnail of something on your site? You don't want to upload every image at 1600. Only the ones that you're using as backgrounds or hero images at that, so they will look their best. So my rule is, when I'm designing a site, certain containers have certain pixel widths that I design for, like the main content area, whether the site is contained in the middle and it's like 1200 pixels wide, or 800 for the content column, and a smaller, sidebar. They all have certain widths to them. And so if you have an image that you are going to use in a certain section on your site, optimize that image so that it is the max of what the width is where you're going to use it, and no bigger. Because if you put it out bigger, then you're basically ending up with a, heavier image size, and it won't be as optimal as it can for your site. So if your content width where you put out all your content on your site is only a maximum width of 800. Export all your images as 800 pixels wide at their largest,
Hmm.
and also have them only 60%
So basically,
if they're good.
you should have a brief of the different image sizes for different areas if you have a website, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That
I guess that would be helpful because like the whole point of image optimization for your site is to make sure you get the smallest file size you can, but in the use you need it for on your site. So that's why I was saying if you know the dimensions of your site and no image would ever display bigger than that, make sure you don't post or upload images that are any bigger than they're needed to be on your website.
right. That makes
That's the general rule.
that
Don't upload any images that are any larger than you need
interesting.
dimensionally
Well,
on your.
here's an interesting thing on this, and I know we didn't talk about this, but WordPress makes three different. So when you upload an image, doesn't it make three sizes of it?
Yes,
And so that is stored on your site.
yes.
So that could bring the weight down up.
Well, it's stored in the back end.
Yeah.
It only will weigh your site down if you post that image. So, say for instance, you have your content width is 800 pixels wide, and you want to use an image in that section. So you upload an image that's 800 pixels wide max, and so that you can use it full screen in that column. But then on another section of your site, you only want to use a thumbnail of that.
Hmm.
Well, you would want to use the other images that WordPress created in those smaller thumbnail sizes. They have a large, a medium, and a thumbnail size. So when you're using that image in the side column, as a for instance, you wouldn't use the original one that you uploaded, which is 800, because you're only displaying it in a space of whatever that side column width is. So you'd use the thumbnail or maybe the medium size if your thumbnail isn't large enough. So yeah, it's great that WordPress does this because it can automatically create those smaller images for other purposes within smaller sections of your site.
Hmm. I am looking for the question. See, that's really good. Now, you don't have to really worry about, like, WordPress is doing that automatically for you. I don't know if any other sites do that for you. Does Squarespace do that?
I would assume most of them do create multiple file sizes for you.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
So we don't miss out on these questions because there's a lot more to go through, but the questions actually deal with one of the things we're going to go through. So Dave has asked, he'd be quite interested in the image naming conventions. How do you do image naming conventions, Greg?
I use dashes
Hmm.
in my images. And the reason I use dashes is one, I think they look better than underscores, personally.
Well, and they're what a space is. So if you just had a space, a dash would be created.
Yeah, so the difference between an underscore and a dash is like from Google themselves, they will look at a dash and think it's a separator between of words.
Hmm.
And an underscore, when they look at an underscore, they concatenate. So they put it together. All right. So if you have a three keywords in your image name, all separated by an underscore, Google looks at that as one long concatenated word.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had dashes, it thinks of each word as its own term.
All right. So that's a good one. So make sure dashes, not underscores.
And no spaces. Drives me crazy when I see spaces in file names. I don't have any research on any effects to SEO or the use of the image or the file size or anything like that. I just can't stand seeing spaces.
Right. So there's something really so with naming conventions it's really important for search engine optimization, and I think we all can make errors of putting too much in there. I learned that you get 126 characters for naming a file. So some people make it longer. You know, if you have a page and you have on that page a keyword, putting that keyword in the alt tag is important at the front of the file name. However, if we really think about it, we're supposed to be helping, if we keep it in our mind's eye, we're supposed to be helping people who can't see pictures, or who there's some other accessibility aspect, right? So with your naming conventions, you know, if you have like a redheaded girl in it with a phone, maybe you want to call it, say the blog post is on search engine optimization, and so you could put search engine optimization blog, girl with red phone, blah, 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 right? Like try to describe the picture in a more realistic way, so that the person, so if the picture doesn't show up, somebody can see through the alt tag what the picture's about. So it's not just about SEO, it's about accessibility, which I can't say very well today.
Accessibility.
You.
Yeah, no, for sure the image name, the purpose of having a descriptive name is for accessibility, so that the image name describes what the image is that you're seeing about. And so try to work in keywords if you can work in keywords that you, and basically there's one thing I would say about images and naming them is that if you're describing or naming an image and your keyword doesn't really reflect what the image is projecting, you might be using the wrong image for what the purpose of what you have it on the site for. Like if you're describing the image and it doesn't reflect what your keywords are supposed to be for that site,
Mm-hmm.
then it just might be the wrong image.
Right, right. That's a really, really good point, actually, and really important. And you don't need to put the word image in the image.
No.
Right? So that's always a good one to know. Um, Computers know, even though they don't speak English. Hey, or any other language where anyway. So Greg, the other
Yeah.
really good question that really falls into this, and this is one specifically for you, which is Rena saying, I'd like to know if the name of an image file, if you should name the image file before you upload it, is important. For instance, she's heard various viewpoints. Does that mean we should optimize before sending content to our developer? You being the developer, how do you like to receive content? Such a good.
Uh, as a developer, I would prefer being sent images the way that they would be posted.
Mhm.
However, sometimes you can't trust the client to properly send you images that, like, we're the experts. So
Mm,
ultimately, we'll get images and we should be making sure they're named properly for whatever this customer's keywords are.
no, developers aren't SEOs generally, and so some of them have no idea about that.
That's true. Yeah,
So
I'm
it's hard, right?
I'm kind of jack of all trades, so I
Well,
I,
thank
I
goodness.
think of it all. Um, but yeah, so if you have a developer who's just implementing for you, you better send them
Right.
what you really want on there.
Well,
I would prefer that customers always name an image properly with their keywords before I post it. And I don't know if that question was exactly like, do you change the name after you post it or before? Like you should name it properly on your computer and then upload that image.
mhm,
You shouldn't upload it and then you can't, because then you can't change the file name anyways.
right.
It's on your server.
There you go. So don't change it when it's already uploaded. It change it before you upload it, right?
Yeah.
See, that's important to know, and I think this is where we get into the whole thing about marketing, where okay, granted, it's good to be specialized in marketing. It really is. It's super important, but things bleed into one another, right? Like if you do website stuff, it and you're a developer, it is really good to work with an SEO person, and you should be picking your keywords beforehand, and implementing them and working like the designers and SEO people need to work together just a little bit more, right? To get things done right for people.
Hmm.
Because I don't know what you know, and you don't know what I know, right?
This is true.
Right? It's true. So in speaking about this, one important aspect is that I don't think people realize is when we create images, there's a lot of information on them, like that we don't see. In the background, you can describe the image. The image will dictate camera. What else does the image tell you behind the scenes?
The camera type, the lens that was taken, the date, the location.
That's the
Um,
information thing.
yeah, it'll have copyright information. It has all of the original information of when that photo was taken and the camera type and, all kinds of details like that.
And if you wanted to go in, now I know you use Photoshop too, and you go in and change some of that information using Lightroom if you want, right?
You can change, remove, or add your own information. So as a photographer or amateur photographer, when I export my images that I edit in Lightroom, I will export all of those with a copyright original 72 creative on it. So
That's really good though, right? Because when you are looking for images on Google, I mean, those images are going to be associated with you. Like your name is going to be on there. It's going to be associated with you.
yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal. I mean, if we are really going to get into the nitty gritty of things, you want to maybe go and look at like optimizing images for location, adding your business name, adding that copyright, super important, right? So people don't images. It's pretty interesting how much there is that goes into all this image stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you work on like when you upload an image, do you do all this stuff for your clients to make sure, or are like, because it's a lot of work, right? It's not an easy task.
As much as possible, I am putting in proper names for images before I upload them for clients. I find the hardest thing is, transferring a site over to a customer and then allowing them to be able to create their own pages and upload their own images. Like all of that goes out the window. So I try to tell them these are the dimensions you should, upload, but it's just it's so easy for people to be able to maintain their own website now, but they don't have all of this knowledge. A lot of my customers, maybe not so much now, but in the near past, um, a lot of them just took an image straight from their camera and like uploaded it to their site. They just don't know.
It's
And they assume, oh, well, it creates the sizes for me. Well, yes, but that image is still not optimized, and is really heavy on your site and is named image underscore 5723.jpg. Like it means nothing. But all of they care about for the most part is I created a page and I put an image on it. Look at this, and everybody can see it now. But there's so much more to it that people don't understand.
so much more. And the thing is, I think because of social media, people get more confused because you can upload. I mean, how many stories have you uploaded right from your phone? That's a photo or a video. Those things are big. I mean, I don't know how many servers Facebook has. I bet it's a lot.
And they're keeping all these original images too. It's theirs.
And that's interesting too, right? We do give away some of our privacy for the convenience of the internet. It is true. It is true. So we answered those questions. We have some news, don't we, Greg? Before we get out of here today. Greg,
Yes. What's our news?
he's
Is it
like,
about
what's
next
the
week?
news? Okay,
Is
so
it about next week?
it is about next week.
Oh,
I know. So guys, Greg just like turned around and was like, I'm gonna drop a big stinky one on ya, and you'll have to figure it out, Pip. No, I don't know. um, but so Greg's not gonna be here next week, but we do have a speaker, and I haven't had an opportunity to tell Greg who it is,
Mm.
because we were gonna try to meet in person and do the live, but with timing, it might not work out. So there's a person that is going to come and join me to have a conversation about doing presentations and public speaking.
Mm.
I thought that would be, we have a lot of people in the group that want to do public speaking or want to do lives. So it's going to be pretty good. Her name is Janice. And I'm really excited about it. So that's the news for next week. And we'll be getting that image up in the next few days for next month and all the lovely chats we're going to have. Right? There was something, Greg, in this talk we did not mention.
Well, we still have a couple minutes because we started late.
It's true. We could just
We could go for another 3 minutes, maybe.
do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, because there were a couple of things I want to mention, especially for people who use WordPress sites, is there are some plugins that you can use to optimize your images that you've already uploaded if you don't want to re-upload properly optimized images. And maybe I can post those in the group. I have them. I have a couple here I can list off, but maybe it'll be better if I post this in the group after the live.
Yeah, that'd be really good. I actually, when you're like, oh, I have a couple more things to say, I'm like, damn, I have a couple more things to say.
All right, what are your things? That was one of mine.
Was my thing.
Oh, that.
So that's good.
There you go. We knocked it off the list.
Right, but here's the thing about, a question that's always got me. So when you use a plugin, now I actually, I think one of the things I use is not a plugin, but they actually have like a web page. You can put the photo up and then download it and then upload it to your site. And that's what I use. It's like Pixel Helper or something. I don't know. Not Pixel Helper. I don't know. Short Pixel or something like that. And I really like using it. But one of the things I wonder with the plugins is if I upload my image and then I use like Smush It, right? What is it doing to the image? Am I losing some of that? Am I losing some?
Obviously you're losing something because you're ending up with a smaller file size. Um, there's two ways of optimizing an image. Basically images are done lossy or lossless.
Mm-hmm.
And so lossy compression actually discards certain information in the image, and you get a much better weight, a much lower file weight, but you do degrade the image a lot more. Lossless is a compression technique where you don't lose any of the quality of the image, but it gets compressed. The problem, not a problem, but one of the things that lossless has to do is when that image actually gets shown, it needs to be uncompressed when it's shown. So those are the two different optimization styles that are used for images, lossy and lossless, and the differences between the two. Photoshop does both of them. Affinity Photo is a lossy compression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Does that?
That's good.
Is there a question? Is that why I answered that?
That kind of answered my question. I was wondering also about like are the descriptions lost? Are any of the say I'm optimizing locally and I'm using the strategy of doing geo-targeting on my images, would I lose that information? Because I'm about this.
That's a good question. I don't think a lot of meta information really adds to the actual weight. It's more the image itself. So I can't say for sure, but I don't believe that there's a lot of loss in metadata.
Right.
When you compress an image.
Right. I've looked it up too, and just to see, and I think you're right. I would agree with that. So I think it's pretty interesting how deep you can go. Like, if a picture has 1,000 words, oh my God, there are 1,000 things you can learn about how to manage your images online, right? It could be a whole business.
Hmm.
I think it is a whole business. Um, I think this is a great topic. Actually, I am fascinated by this because the better we get at doing this stuff, the better we get at our jobs. And so in the next, I guess we're done. Greg, you said you're going to drop some of those plugins in the comments, right?
I'll do a post.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
and before we go, final news. Final news, guys. You're going to see the days of the week have slightly changed. There's been slight alters,
A shift.
a shift. There's been a shift. So, for instance, today is now Website Thursday, right, Greg?
I was thinking everybody was going to see it and think today's only Wednesday. Don't worry, people. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday.
And this is to make it so, because on Wednesday, Greg's previous day, he had to take out the garbage, and it was very hard for him to take out the garbage and do the morning post.
This was not the reason for the switch.
No, it was not the reason. Actually, the reason is because we have wonderful moderators in the group who we thank very much, and that we needed to switch it up for them, right? And Greg won in that. I was always winning because I'm on Tuesday, but anyway, I guess that's it for today. Greg, I won't see you next week, but I will see you the week after.
You may see me now next week, just maybe not live,
Right.
or maybe not on the live, but live.
Oh, you know what?
Maybe there's
Totally
possibility.
make that happen. Okay,
There's possibility.
have a great week. If you have more image optimization questions, drop them in the comments. We will get to them and make sure to answer them. And have a great day. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Make good choices.
Don't get captured.